My coming to Krishna consciousness began when I was a freshman in college in 1965 at Austin College in Sherman, Texas. The same time that Prabhupada set foot on American soil, I developed a whole new mentality of wanting to know what was the meaning of life. Before that, my dad had said, "Son, your college days are going to be the happiest days of your life." And I was thinking, yes, yes, yes. But I got to college and it was completely miserable. So just at that time, now I'm out of the nest, I'm on my own, after being, with mom and dad, growing up with my brother and sister, now I'm out on my own to deal with the cruel world on my own. So what is the meaning of my life? I wanted to know, but none of the professors could tell me, none of the books could tell me. So it was a real puzzle for me. I really wanted to know what was the purpose of life, and no one could tell me. We had a course called Basic Studies, which of course was the initials were the joke of all the students, BS 101, BS 102. This course was a study of all the great thinkers and historical events of Western culture. But none of them really could explain why we exist. So, after 2 years of liberal arts studies, I was supposed to choose a major, but nothing made sense to me except drama, because in drama you could enter into an imaginary world of theater and try to forget your existential quagmire. But our school had a very small drama department, so I transferred to a very big drama school at the University of Texas in Austin. One of the top 10 drama schools in the US, I was told. So I was thinking, oh, now I'll be happy, I'll be an actor. Yes, I'll be an actor. I was all enlivened. But then one day one of our graduates from our drama school came and explained what it was like in the world of theater, and I realized this is not for me. You have to be a total slave of the theater. So what to do? Again, it's very depressing. My idea of being an actor is taken away. What am I supposed to do now? One of the Bob Singleton, one of my fellow students in the drama department, one day sitting in the break room, told me about a book called Autobiography of a Yogi, talked about self-realization. So, that's something. Let me check that out. So I got the book. I enrolled in the course called, it was the self-realization course, home study. So I was thinking, now I'll solve my problems, I'll become self-realized. And they had me staring at a candle in a dark room. And it wasn't working, it didn't do anything for me. So one day I just took a match and I burned all the lessons. That was the one little bliss I've got out of the lessons. Burning the lessons was a little bit of happiness I got. But now what to do? I had a friend who told me, well, you got to get into transcendental meditation, Maharishi Yogi. So I went down, I got initiated. They gave me my mantra, Aing, 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 Aing. So I was doing my Aing mantra 20 minutes twice a day. Aing, 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 Aing. But nothing would happen. It's like an airplane on the airport taking off down the runway, Aing, Aing, trying to lift off, Aing, Aing, but no lift off. I never lifted off the material plane. So, the first guru let me down, the second, Paramahamsa Yogananda, his program let me down, Maharishi's program let me down. What to do now? I went to hear a lecture there in Austin. Swami Satchidananda came in. He said, I'm God, you're God, we're all God. That didn't work either. Then I was shopping around, I found a book called The Book by Alan Watts. This book said, you are actually God. Now you simply have to stop playing hide and go seek with yourself. Come out and be God once again. Oh, this is it. So I tried being God for a few days, but it didn't work, because obviously things weren't happening the way I wanted them to happen. So now what to do? What to do? What to do? It was depressing. I was very depressed. I would wander the streets at night of Austin crying, and come back to my roommates, a bunch of friends were over there. I couldn't relate with anybody. Nobody could understand. I couldn't open my heart to anyone. they would just laugh at me. They couldn't understand, they wouldn't be able to understand what the existential quagmire I was caught in, not knowing why I existed and what was my purpose of life. But then some friends, actually some friends of my roommate, John, Janet and Daryl Vasalinda, they came down from Waco, a real redneck sort of place, as we used to say. They came down to visit the hippie community in Austin, and they said, we're going to move to Denver. Why don't you come with us? I mean, I didn't even know these people, but it was like a hippie community in those days. We were all like family. If you're a hippie, you're family. It was like that mood. So I thought, well, I'll come visit you. They actually they sang a song called, "If somehow you could pack up your sorrows and give them all to me, I could use them, you would lose them, give them all to me." Somebody's willing to understand that I'm depressed, they're willing to take my misery and leave me without it. So I was feeling something with these people. I went and stayed with them, and I thought, this is really good. 3 of us were living together. I felt some camaraderie with them. And I said, I'll move to Denver permanently now. I went back, got my stuff, and they said, now you live somewhere else. I was thrown out of my home. So now what to do? Here I am in Denver. I don't really know anybody here. But there was one fellow I had met in Austin when he was visiting, when I was living there. One day I was with Daryl and Janet, and my roommate and this guy named Patrick had come up to eat. We were eating watermelon in the front yard of our apartment, and like the hippies are a family, he came and joined us in our watermelon party. And he talked about going to the forest and becoming self-realized in the forest. And I went, this guy seems to be his head's in a high place. So anyway, I didn't know where he was from, but lo and behold, he lived there I was in a strange place, 1,200 miles away, in Denver, Colorado, and lo and behold, he lived a block away from where I had gotten an apartment. So that's why I said this story takes a long time. It's a very detailed story, how I came. Is it okay to go on? Okay. So, to me, he looked like a self-realized somebody who was really spiritually together. I really respected this guy, Patrick. So one day, I went over to see Patrick. He was like my mentor, like a guru for me. And his roommate said, Patrick went over to Joe's place. They're all taking LSD over at Joe's place. So I went to Joe's place, and they said, Steve, why don't you take LSD? But no, I tried it before. Some bad experiences, No. Don't waste my time with that. I was thinking just a waste of time, stupid waste of time. So anyway, Joe got his LSD trip started to manifest. He went crazy. He took off all his clothes. He took his huge collection of 33 and 3rd vinyl records. He was smashing them against the wall. People ran out, all the other people, the LSD trippers, they ran out of the apartment to get away from him. He was going crazy. He went to a car and he smashed his fist in a car windshield. He's going door to door saying, there's LSD in the water, there's LSD in the water. Can you give me a drink of water? Going door to door begging water from the people, naked. I mean, and all the other people, they knew the cops were going to get him, we're all going to get arrested with him, let's leave him, let's get away from him. They all came to my apartment. An impassioned but quiet knock on the door. He said, shut the door, don't turn on the light. Joe's gone crazy, he's flipping out on LSD. So now they're all sitting there just scared, they're on LSD, they're really afraid. And then Patrick says, everybody chant this, it will protect him. He went, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Hare. He started chanting this mantra. Now, Patrick was already my mentor, and now he was giving some mantra that had great power and potency. So I said, Patrick, what was that? I went to his house the next day. What was that mantra you were chanting last night? You showed me an article from the Saturday Evening Post, which is a big magazine in the U.S. at that time. Kind of like, it was big like Time magazine in those days. I think it's defunct now, but it was big in those days. And it talked about the Haight-Ashbury scene, the hippie scene in the summer of '67. And the integral part of that scene was the Hare Krishnas. And it interviewed Mukunda, who was Mukunda Das and Hayagriva Das, and they talked about how the Swami, they give the whole mantra in the article. The Swami recommended this, there would be no trouble if you just chant Hare Krishna. So now I had the mantra. I'd gotten the mantra via my friend Patrick and the Saturday Evening Post article where the devotees had given the mantra, Hayagriva and Mukunda, who's now Mukunda Maharaj. So, around the same time, I found a beautiful poster of Radha and Krishna. I didn't know who Radha was, but it was a beautiful poster. I actually have put that on my Thought for the Day broadcast. I have that same exact poster. It's a very special poster for me. So I started worshiping. I never met devotees, but something in me, I wanted to worship Krishna. And I had gotten a Gita, which is not Prabhupada's Gita at the time. I got a Gita from the Denver Public Library, a yellow cover. It's not there, they don't have it anymore. I checked their library to see if it was still there. There was no purport, just the translation. But one verse was actually correct. And this verse inspired me. Krishna says, if you offer me the love and devotion, a leaf or flower, food or wine, I'll accept it. So I started doing that. I was a vegetarian, and I would come home from work and I would offer to this picture of Radha and Krishna my food. And I would chant Hare Krishna, burn some incense and a candle, and I'd meditate on Krishna, now chanting Hare Krishna. And so now, what am I going to do with my life? I couldn't fit it in any career in the material world. Not possible. I couldn't fit it in any career. So I decided, well, there was a couple of hippie friends, a couple of hippie girls that I knew, they were going to go to India to check out the scene. Many hippies used to go to India. They still do. But that was popular with the hippies. So I thought, well, I'll go to India and just renounce the world, become a holy beggar. That would be my career path. I'll become a sadhu in India. That's it. I'm just going to leave the material world behind and renounce everything. Just go to India and live as a holy beggar in India. And that'll be it. That's my career path. So at the time I was in the neti-neti philosophy. Not this, not that. Deny, 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 deny. Cut out all your attachments. Cut. Philosophically, cut it all out. Cut it all out. And I was ready. I was going to go to India and just cut it all out. Neti. But then one night, I went for a last visit with my parents in Houston. But one night I had an amazing realization. And it was so profound, I wrote it on a piece of paper. And the realization was this: I denied and I denied until I could deny no longer, and then I had to start accepting. In other words, you can do neti until everything's chopped down, and then what's left, you got to do a neti on neti itself. You understand? I realized I got to do a neti on neti also. You can chop down the whole forest with your hatchet, but now you got to throw away the hatchet. You see? You've given up everything, now you have to give up your philosophical chopper also, get rid of it as well. So I realized, well, I denied and I denied until I could deny no longer, and then I had to start accepting. So, what will I accept? That's the question. You deny everything in this material world, and you deny even the process of denial itself, and then you realize you have to start accepting something. You have to accept something that's transcendental. That's what you have to do, you see. When you negate everything material, including the act of negation, then you have to accept something which is transcendental. And now what will I accept? I felt at that point that I was being called to San Francisco. That there was some spiritually elevated persons in San Francisco who were calling me to join them. So that was now instead of hitchhiking to New York to get a job on a freighter to go to India, I'll hitchhike the other direction to San Francisco. So I did. I hitchhiked 2,000 miles in San Francisco. I arrived up in Haight-Ashbury, I went into Golden Gate Park, and there they were, the Hare Nam party. They invited me to the temple, but see, the trouble was I was a Mayavadi. I was a staunch Mayavadi. One brahmachari said, I was chanting in the temple room, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama. One brahmachari, she came up, she said, oh, you're chanting Hare Krishna so nicely. And I was thinking, if she only knew that I am Krishna. So, this Mayavad wasn't ready to, even though I had actually met those divine people who were calling me to join them. See, my vision was, instead of renouncing the world, save the world, make a spiritual revolution on this planet. So I thought there was some souls in San Francisco that I was going to join in making a spiritual revolution. But I didn't realize it was the devotees. I thought it was somebody else, you see. Somebody else, because these people, I couldn't relate to it. You know, they don't have girlfriends. They don't have beautiful long hair like the rest of us hippies do. They don't wear beads and fancy flashy clothes. They wear these saffron robes, shaved heads. They don't have girlfriends. They don't smoke marijuana. They don't take LSD. You know, it's just, their chanting is great, but other than that, they're a little kooky, a little weird, I was thinking. So, I didn't join them. I thought I will do it on my own. So I started playing guitar and singing, writing songs, thinking that I didn't see anybody else that I could really join with. I'll do it on my own then. I'll just write songs and I'll push forward a revolution by my music. I was thinking like that. So the scene got a little bit bleak there, and the neighborhood started becoming more and more bad vibrations in Haight-Ashbury. So I found out that across the bay, at San Francisco Bay in Berkeley, it was much more mellow atmosphere at the University of California. So I started doing my songs over there. One of my fans became later known as Sri Dainana Maharaj. He was a student named Howard Resnick, and he used to groove on my music. I would sing on the campus there. And then there was one brahmachari came over to open a center in Berkeley, and I used to visit. I talk with him sometimes. His name now he was Makanlal Das, and now he's Bhakti Madhurya Govinda Maharaj, my good friend. But he invited me one day why don't you come with me? I'm going over to the San Francisco temple. There was no temple in Berkeley. So I went and spent the night at the temple, and we slept in the basement underneath the temple room. And then we went up in the morning, we had our morning program, you know, and there was a special set of japa beads on the wall for guests. So I chanted one round of japa, my first round of japa. And then it's time to go back to Berkeley, do my musician thing on the campus, right? But I felt this amazing ecstasy. After chanting that round of japa, I was like laughing ecstasy. I was like, I was in ecstasy from that round of japa. So I went back to Berkeley. I was hanging out with some hippies. They went to their apartment. They were sitting there watching television, which I thought was pretty uncool, you know, television. And I couldn't sit down and watch television. So I went out on their porch and I wrote a song that day. And I don't remember, I just remember one line from the song. It was the theme of the song. Do you think I'd waste my time playing around in misery when I'm so close to nirvana? So I had that conviction after that experience of the Hare Krishna temple that spiritual realization is coming soon. I didn't know it was really Krishna consciousness yet, but I knew that spiritual realization was coming soon. Don't get caught up in mundane television, it's a waste of your time. I had that realization. So the hippie scene, in the whole California hippie scene there in the Bay Area started getting really bad. There was a big concert that was supposed to be the greatest love festival ever happened on the West Coast, and the motorcycle gang murdered somebody at the I mean, it was really bad. So I'm going to go back to Austin, a more mellow scene. So I went back to Austin. I was doing my musician thing on the campus for about a year, thinking, yeah, I'm going to do my spiritual revolution by singing my songs, and I would sing about making the whole world happy. You know, I had a song called won't you hop aboard my happiness train? The journey has begun. It's a trip for all those people who like to have fun. I don't care who you are. I don't care how blue you are. I want you to have joy. I was trying to spread happiness to the whole world. That was my mood. The trouble is I didn't have it myself, you see? I had this idea of making the whole world happy through my music. But I myself was lacking it. I used to do a gig at a vegetarian restaurant to get a free lunch every day. Because I didn't work, you see. I would stay with friends and just sing for my lunch. I was like a mendicant in the U.S., a guitar singing mendicant. And so when somebody at the restaurant said, "I hate your music," so I was shocked. So I became more introspective. Just as I'd been introspective before I went to there in Denver, you know, chanting with the picture of Radha and Krishna, I became introspective again. And I knew Jesus was a self-realized soul, Lord Jesus. So I was thinking, well, how can I be like Jesus? He's a self-realized soul. And so I was studying the Bible to see what is his secret. And one day, I found it. Jesus says, "Father, not my will, but thy will be done." You just got to surrender to God, do what he wants, forget your desires, just do what God wants you to do. I knew, that's it, that is self-realization. Jai! I didn't say jai, but you know, there was that feeling of, I knew I had found it, but I had a problem. I didn't know what God wanted me to do. I was waiting for a voice from the sky to give me my orders, my mission, and nothing was coming. So it was tough, you know, what to do. I don't know what God, I know I'm supposed to do God's will, but I don't know what God's will is. What am I going to do now? So one day I was doing my, guitar singing thing at a vegetarian co-op. They had a little stage out front, and doing my thing, and nobody was listening except one little girl. You know, it's pretty. The musician's ego. You want to have a big crowd. You know, when you do your music. And I was kind of depressed. You know, oh my God, just one little girl hearing me. You know, but the little girl was something special about her. She was very perceptive. She told me, and after I finished my song, she said, she knew I was depressed, that she was the only one in the hearing. She said, "Don't worry, God can hear you." I went, wow, there's something special. That's not an ordinary thing. That's something very extraordinary about that. So I started thinking how that would apply to my present anxiety of not knowing what God wants me to do, waiting for his instruction. I realized, well, you can't hear him, but he can hear you. So now I got it. I had my mantra, "Dear God, please guide me how I can become your perfect servant." That was my mantra now. Every morning I'd read the Bible about this self-realized soul, Jesus Christ, and pray, "Dear God, please guide me how I can become your perfect servant." So now I'm ripe, you see, for Krishna consciousness. Now I'm really ripe. I'm ready. And that's when Vishnu Janmana shows up in Austin. And I thought, well, let me just try it out as an experiment. I've tried everything else. I'll try this. And I realized, at first I was just going to do a singer-songwriter. I'll be like George Harrison, just come out with "My Sweet Lord." It was a top hit. I'll just write songs about Krishna. I'll be a singer-songwriter. Krishna conscious singer-songwriter. That was my idea, you see. But I thought, let me live in the temple for a while. I need a place to stay anyway, and I can learn more to write better songs about Krishna. So Vishnu Jan Swami was cool with that. So I'm living in the temple. You know, you get up for Mangal Arati. You know, you do what the devotees do. You say this mantra when you go to the temple room, Nama Om Vishnu Padaya. It's a big mouthful for a Texas hippie, you know. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya. So I wrote it down in my hand, you know. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya. But I had a little empty space down here. And so Vishnu Jan Swami looked, he said, "Oh, very good. Now you add this to your hand. I must please my spiritual master and surrender to him fully." Was I going to do it? Nope. Nope. Devotee said that they called me Steve Prabhu because I'd done 10 BTGs. I earned the title Prabhu. But Steve Prabhu, you know, Krishna says in the Gita, "Tad vidi pranipate," no, you're supposed to surrender to Guru. Was I defeated? Yep. Was I going to do it? Nope. Stubborn. So one day, we were out doing our Hare Krishna chanting on the street, and somebody from a radio station, they got a promotional copy of the Radha Krishna Temple album. And they thought, this is too spiritual, we're not going to play this on the radio, but those Hare Krishna guys, they'd probably like it. So they handed it to us on the street. And we took it home, and boy, we played that record again and again and again. Wow, we didn't know it was happening. We didn't know that George Harrison was in the Krishna consciousness. Well, it was there in My Sweet Lord, so we must have known a little bit. But to see that George is actually producing a whole album, wow, that was incredible. So, one proverbial morning, providential morning. And we were playing that cut, it's the second cut. Samsaradava naladida loka Shanaya karyunya gana ganadvam Blaptashakalyana gunana vasya Vande guru shri shadanada vindam. Now I was a very envious type person, really an envious person. So I could sense that these devotees, the London devotees there, when I heard I could pick up on the vibes, the mood in their hearts as they were singing that song. These people are experiencing some kind of bliss that I don't experience. Now, being an envious person, you don't want somebody to experience something that you're not. You want to experience it also, isn't it? So actually, it was envy that brought me to this movement. Envy brought me to the Krishna consciousness, because I was envious of these devotees, that they are tasting a love, a happiness, a peace of mind, which is something far beyond anything I've ever known or ever experienced in my whole life. And I wanted to. So as I was feeling that way and hearing their voices, I just thought, I entered into the same mood as the devotees. I said, wouldn't it be beautiful if I gave my life to Prabhupada? And as the tears came streaming down, and that was it. That's how I became Krishna conscious. That when Prabhupada entered my heart at that very moment, he's been there ever since. So that's how I came. I know it's a long story, but I can't really do it justice unless I tell you the whole story. That's how I became Krishna conscious. Now what's the next question?